Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson, live on YouTube. Coming at you from the Antonio Cromartie studio and partnered with Huggies, all presented by FanDuel. It's time, Sam, for the Wednesday update. My favorite show of the week.
The Wednesday show.
Out of our three. My favorite Wednesday show, at least. Heading into week 12, monster show, as always. We have Mina Kimes joining us in just a little bit.
Excellent.
To talk all things NFL, some trends. We'll talk scheme. Talk about Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, all sorts of great stuff. Talking with Mina, and we've got a big Wednesday update as well. Lots of news to get through.
Excellent.
How you doing?
Doing well.
Ready
to go?
Steve? Let's you want to crowdsource any feedback on the lighting? We've been trying to manipulate the lighting over here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little early for declarative opinions. We've tried to soften the lighting with some weird paper stuff, and it's a work in progress.
We're just always, and I put it up, so who knows if it's going to fall at any time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're working together here. Shout out to Harrison. I know he's out there watching us. He just told me. So shout out to Harrison.
Just watching the lighting. One show at a time.
One show at a time. All right, man. We ready to get into all the good stuff today?
Uh-huh.
All right. We're going to start with our It's Shouty Show time.
I've thought about it very deeply.
I liked how he started it with, I've thought about this long and hard.
I trust the backup quarterback more than I do Dak.
This is why Skip Bayless is the master of the Shouty Show segment.
I can't do it anymore. It is year 6.
It's just a never-ending arms race of idiocy between loud, obnoxious people. We are the antidote to that.
Some people would say we are the obnoxious people, not the antidote to that.
Yeah, we're not loud.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get fired.
Quiet, obnoxious people.
All right, I don't have notes on what these are about. I just know the first one's from Colin. Colin making his return. Let's hear what Colin Cowherd has to say.
Let's be totally frank about the Chiefs. And this is a weird thing to say, but part of Kansas City's problem is Patrick Mahomes. In the last 2 seasons, he has not been in Josh Allen's galaxy. Josh has been more accurate. Josh gets to the end zone more. Josh uses his legs to a greater degree, and he's just a better runner. Right now, Mahomes is not Josh Allen last 2 years. And Patrick's become kind of a bad road quarterback this year.
Some truth in that. I mean, I think
The
there's a lot
sacred
going on.
cow has been poked.
So we are going to talk Chiefs more in depth later on the show, giving them roadside assistance from Root. But I would just say it's just fascinating because you see stats out there. Mike Sando had an article and put out a graphic about Kansas City, and you look at last year when they were winning all the games. They were 9-0, or I think it was through 10 games last year when they were 10-0 or 9-1. Versus this year. And this year, like every advanced metric, every simple metric, points for, points allowed, everything's better this year.
Yeah.
And it was like last year, I mean, they won on 4th and 18 pass interference calls and blocked field goals. Like they're not that different of a team. I'd say the one difference this year is I think the reason why the numbers are better is they beat up on some bad teams. And so they beat up on the Raiders, the Commanders. They had a little stretch. And it coincided with the return of Rashee Rice. And they've struggled a little bit more against, especially defensively, I think they struggled more against some of the good teams. So I don't think it's a far way away from last year. But that's like the nature of football. That's why we come out here and do this thing. We'll talk about that more later. But what are your thoughts on Colin's overall take here?
Well, the thing is, I don't even think Josh Allen has been in the same ballpark as last year's Josh Allen. Like, I don't think either of those guys are playing as well as Josh Allen did last year.
That's true.
I
don't think anybody is.
No, right. But if you are, you're not zooming in on those two. You're zooming in on like Matthew Stafford or, Darnold up until he plays the Rams or those types of things. It's an interesting thing, though, the Mahomes part of it specifically. How long do you let a guy go playing at a lower level than his peak before you say he's not playing as well as he used to anymore? Like how long a grace period does Mahomes has he earned by playing out of his mind for so long to begin his career before it's okay to bring up the idea, hey, you know what? He's actually not playing at that level anymore.
So I think it depends on what you're trying to define. I mean, the last 3 years, his production has been a far cry. So if you're just looking at production, output.
And that was always explained away by, hey, look at this receiving core. It's not what it used to be. There's no Tyreek Hill here.
Yeah.
He hasn't got all the full receiving core. Well, all of a sudden he has the full receiving core, and he's still not playing out of his mind.
Yeah, over the last few years, you would say, okay, you lose Tyreek Hill, and the first year without Tyreek Hill may have been Mahomes' best season. That was 2022 because he was doing it with lesser receivers, and the production did not take a drop-off whatsoever. They go win the Super Bowl.
Right.
But then since that point, you have a little bit of Travis Kelce regression starting last year, and then, like Tyreek Hill over time, if you have that guy on your team, is going to make your stats better. So you've got stat production regression. And then over the last couple of years, it was usually explained away by, the left tackle's really inconsistent and the playmakers and Kadarius Toney's on our team. And now, you're right, last week, they had all of their receivers. We've been saying for a while, wait till they get Rice, Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Kelce, all on the field at the same time. Just wait.
And for one
and
game.
Josh Simmons was back, too.
Yeah, and for a couple of games it worked, but it was against the Raiders and Washington's defense.
Yeah.
It's of course it worked against those.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. It depends on what you're trying to define.
I also don't think it's also, again, this is where you get the nuance, right? It's important to make the point that Mahomes is still playing well, just not the way he used to play, which was the best quarterback of all time. Not just, the best in the NFL, but better than anybody's ever played the game before to start his career. And now it's he's not playing at that level.
Yeah.
He's still good.
But it's also
not that.
But then it's probably fair to say, okay, given the circumstances he was in, Hall of Fame Travis Kelce battling to be the best tight end of all time, Tyreek Hill, one of the best, I would say, deep threats, all-around offense elevators of all time. And so is it even fair to expect the same type of production without those guys? How much, just nuanced here, how much was the stuff that called him the greatest of all time during that beginning stretch dependent on those guys?
To me,
and
it
you
felt
don't have that. They're both things are true, but you have this combination of Andy Reid, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce all in that ecosystem at the same time. That all led to that otherworldly production.
This is where I think that we are still, despite all the advanced numbers in the world, despite PFF grades, despite everything trying to quantify this stuff, we're still really bad at identifying when is a guy actually playing worse football and when is simply his supporting cast changed to the point where that's affecting his performance up or down, right?
Yeah.
So this feels like various points in Aaron Rodgers' career, right? Where Rodgers had similar. Okay, his start was later because, sitting behind Brett Favre for a while. But once he got in the starting lineup, it's out of his mind football, more or less start to finish. Incredible run. This is the best anybody's ever done it. Nobody's ever played football to this level before. It's like you've never seen before. And then every now and again, you get a year in there with a 78 PFF grade where he's good but not great, and the numbers, are slightly worse but not bad. And it's well, do we acknowledge that as a bad season, relatively speaking, for Aaron Rodgers? Or was that a year where Jordy Nelson gets hurt and that's just literally the entire production change or the entire grade or performance change is explained by Jordy Nelson is no longer in the lineup, therefore Rodgers is taking a downturn? So I think we're bad still collectively at even identifying whether that's the thing or not. Is this quarterback actually playing any worse than he's played in the past, or is this simply a product of things outside of his control? Because you got games this year, particularly early in the season, where Mahomes was playing like playoff Mahomes, and he's I got to run every first down. If I don't scramble, we're not extending this drive. I have to carry this team on my shoulders individually. And he was doing that, and it was working. But I think overall at this point, half the year in, you're this is not a vintage year for Mahomes.
Well, that's honestly, I think the last 3 years haven't been vintage, but the difference has been, steps up his game in crunch time, both at the end of games and in the playoffs. That would be the one thing, and I think that's where Khalen is onto something here. That would be the one thing that's a little bit different. The last couple weeks, Mahomes has had opportunities. If you look at all those charts when it comes to fourth quarter comebacks and opportunities at the end of games, Mahomes is at or near the top of almost all of those, right? It's always Brady and Mahomes and, the guys, and even more so when you're trying to figure out the GOAT discussion everybody always loves. Brady and Mahomes are always in this slightly different stratosphere than, say, Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers or some of the others. But like the last couple of weeks here, Mahomes is thrown an tie game interception a couple weeks ago, or in a comeback attempt interception against the Bills, had an opportunity this past weekend against the Broncos, goes 3 and out. Those are opportunities that he usually comes through. And even last year and the year before, when his overall stats and production weren't great, even when he wasn't having his best game, you'd still say, well, found a way to do it at the end. And he's just not doing that as much. So I think that's where Colin's take is coming from. And there's some validity to that. There's also, like, the best quarterbacks don't always come through, right? That you just have, like, being the best quarterback in the league or whoever, like, you have failure too. Like, it doesn't mean you're perfect. Doesn't mean you literally are always the best at everything statistically or in comeback attempts.
All of them have this. Like, as you said, this year Josh Allen has not been like Josh Allen for a lot of the year. Every one of these guys has a stretch where they don't look like the best quarterback in the NFL. But I do think it is like Mahomes has this kind of sacred cow status where you can't say anything negative about him at all. Like, I think it's reasonable at this point to bring up the point that, would the Chiefs' offense be better if Mahomes was having one of his best seasons? Yeah. Like, he's missed a lot of shots there that have been there for the taking. I mean, even against a couple of weeks ago, there was one of those deep shots to Thornton that was there before. Like, he didn't hit the first one. He then hit the second one. You're like, okay, that's good. But, like, these are the plays that Mahomes used to make in the past and hasn't made now.
We'll talk more about the Chiefs, break this all down a little bit later. But Colin's going straight for Mahomes. What's all the problem? It's got to be all Mahomes.
Now we're going to have to get he's going to have a guest appearance by Nick Wright to counter the Mahomes slander.
Of course.
Nick can't let that stand.
Nick will take care of that. The second one, I may have an idea of where we're going with this, but let's go. Second Shouty Show.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I do not think Kevin Stefanski wants Shedeur Sanders to succeed in Cleveland. The reason being is, don't tell me what he said. Don't tell me what he's saying. I'm going off of actions. All right? Let's go off actions. The actions is, if I'm Shedeur or if I'm a Shedeur Sanders fan, I would not want him to take the field, because that's going to consistently be the display we're going to see. It doesn't matter if it's Deshaun Watson. It doesn't matter if it's Shedeur Sanders. It doesn't matter if it's Dylan Gabriel. It doesn't matter if it's Dan Orlovsky. It doesn't matter if it's Cam Newton. You need help in Cleveland when you have a quarterback that's still making $46 million on your roster and he's not healthy. That impacts the talent that's around him. They are not a good team. Right. But this is the thing that really irks me the most, is because he doesn't get any reps.
Cam Newton claiming that Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski actively
sabotaging
Shedeur Sanders.
Sort of. Yeah.
I saw this one making the rounds, and I only read the captions previously, so I wanted it. I heard it myself. I just heard it for the first time. I wanted it to be fresh.
Okay. I don't really understand. I'm not quite sure I understand what his point is. I agree with him that Kevin Stefanski has definitely, up until this point, not gone out of his way to smooth Shedeur Sanders' path to a starting spot in Cleveland. But as a fifth-round pick who's the second of two rookie quarterbacks on that depth chart, you wouldn't expect him to. Like, this is the thing that I think everyone in the pro-Shedeur camp is missing in this entire process is this would be abnormal if they were going out there and doing all these things to ensure Shedeur Sanders does succeed. Like, yeah, he could. Could you make his life easier and try and, prop him up better and set him up for success more than they currently are? Absolutely. Would that be weird given that you've drafted one guy ahead of him and he was third on the depth chart heading into the season? Yeah, absolutely. That would be entirely abnormal. And all these, career backup quarterbacks have been pointing out during the week that it's entirely normal for the backup not to see any starting reps at any point outside of training camp, because all the reps need to go to the starter, particularly when the starter is now a third-round rookie who needs all the reps he can get. And that's, again, the difference. I think Dylan Gabriel was getting some starter reps when Joe Flacco was the starter, but that's because Flacco's 58 years old and Dylan Gabriel has never played before. And of course, you're going to play him at some point this season, so you actually do need to get him some reps as a
chosen
backup.
ahead of Shedeur, and he's
right.
higher in the depth chart.
It no longer makes sense to do the same thing for Shedeur because theoretically, the young quarterback who's the starter needs all of those reps in a way that Flacco didn't. So, yeah, like I get. It's definitely Stefanski definitely has not been spending this entire season being like, man, I need to figure out how best to smooth this process for Shedeur. But my point in all of this is that's totally normal. Why would he?
Yeah.
Like, unless he's related to Shedeur, it's not really, why would he do that?
Yeah. I mean, we called out Josina Anderson on Monday morning because she had look at this incredible check down on 3rd and 10, just like a bad football take. It's like you don't know football.
Right.
And you're clearly
It's not even bad. Like, yeah, it's just
some level of bias.
Right. It's just like you've taken a cartoon twisting of facts to try and make it look like Shedeur's good.
And then speaking of cartoons, we get the cartoon cat now.
Yeah.
Saying, and you're saying the Shedeur fans, the one thing they're missing, I think they're missing a few other things. Marbles, brain cells, I don't know.
The clear thing they're missing, though. Like, even if you take everything they're saying on face value without bias and say, like, if you steel man their argument and say, the point they're making is, Shedeur's never seen these first-team reps. Dylan Gabriel got those first-team reps. What's with that double standard? Well, the double standard is, like, he's 3rd on the depth chart, and the guy ahead of him is also a rookie. When Dylan Gabriel was the backup, that wasn't the case. The starter was an old man who didn't need the reps, and clearly that old man was not a long-term solution there. So, of course, you're going to, they did what the Patriots did a year ago with
Drake May.
May, and they knew that sooner rather than later, Drake May is going to be the starting quarterback of this team. Now, it's a slightly different dynamic in that they knew because he's the 3rd overall pick, and, of course he's going to be the starter. The Browns knew it because Joe Flacco is an old man and not very good for the majority of the last few years of his career. So, of course, eventually Dylan Gabriel is going to be playing games this season. So they did that. That's smart, shrewd, forward-thinking. This is how you get a young quarterback ready. It's not the same thing when you have when the second guy is a young quarterback, but the first guy is still a young quarterback. He still needs the reps.
If we could unpack the lunacy for a minute, it's all a big societal problem, Sam. I mean, it's like the kernel. There's always like a kernel of truth of everything that goes sideways and gets explodes into nonsense. The kernel of truth there, like if Josina or Cam Newton is trying to make a point. If the point is to be, don't judge Shedeur Sanders after one game, that's the kernel of truth.
Absolutely.
That is
and
true.
Totally fair.
Right? It was absolutely fair. So, like, if the over-the-top pushback is, hey, I know he went 4 for 16 and it looked ugly and he had the one sick check down, but, like, everything was rough over. He did throw a really nice dig route, which I did see somebody put out, like, Dylan Gabriel hasn't made this throw this way, which is fair.
And the play broken up in the end zone that could have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't the best throwing pass in the world, but he put the ball in the hands of his receiver late in the game, which could have been a tying touchdown. Like, that, again, is something Gabriel hasn't done a lot of.
The kernel of truth is that.
Yeah.
Right? We are, like, we're going to sit here and tell it like it is. I like to think, right? It was an ugly first debut with, some nice plays in there, but certainly don't judge him off of that. Don't judge him off his first start, right? I mean, even Jackson Dart's first start, we're like, man, he couldn't throw the ball, and it got better and better as the weeks went on. Like, we're smarter than this to judge a quarterback by his first start.
Right.
If that was the point and it ended there, fair game. When it turns into, so then you take that little kernel, and it's like, man, Stefanski's just like straight up sabotage.
He's got it in for him. Yeah.
Stefanski, who might already be teetering on this hot seat here, is just like, let's just blow it all up. I don't care about my job. I hope we got to get back at Dion. We got to get back at Dion.
I watched a video. Yeah. Should I bring up his name? Because this is a bit harsh. I saw Rich Eisen. I watched 10 minutes of Rich Eisen talking about it. Rich Eisen openly admits that he's biased in favor of Shedeur Sanders because obviously he worked with Deion Sanders for years. He's effectively a friend of the family, right? And he's out here. Part of the evidence he was using to construct a vaguely similar case was when they drafted Shedeur Sanders, they showed the video and they're all looking miserable. Like they didn't want him. They never wanted him, right? It's all, and you're like, that video was already kind of debunked. What do you think? They've seen the video. They show the same thing when they drafted Quinshon Judkins. They're not celebrating. Like they just don't react the way the Cowboys react in the draft.
People put out debunked stuff and just keep using it as fodder. Okay.
Well, I'm saying, this is the problem with the misinformation world we're in, is that you like to think that, oh, it's okay. You put out misinformation and you put out information and eventually the truth will rise. But it doesn't.
No.
What happens is the misinformation, like that line of a lie is halfway around the world before the truth has had a chance to put his shoes on or whatever. Like that's what happens. The lie circulates and months later, people like Rich Eisen are still, like it's still in his head as just embedded truth. This is what happened. You're like, but it isn't. And this is the problem. The one thing that Newton said that I think is absolutely true, and we've been saying for years, is the Deshaun Watson deal. As long as he is still on your roster, taking up the giant amount of space he's taken up cap-wise, you have problems. And that's why their quarterback depth chart right now is 2 low-round rookies, because that's the only way. That's the cheapest way you can get out of this.
Like that is also true. But then it goes back to, remember all these pre-draft reports, or at least discussions, whether they were true or not, that Shedeur was turning down interviews here and there, and like whether, I don't know if there's any truth to any of that. But that was what was so ridiculous, because it's not like he was this otherworldly prospect who could, pick his spot. It's like, so you landed in Cleveland. All right, dude, deal with it.
Yeah.
Just that's where you are. Like, and I'm talking to Cam Newton. I'm talking to, like, you landed in this situation where, yes, they've got all of this dead cap and they've got a horrible situation.
And again, where there's a slight kernel of truth that gets, inflated to absurd degrees is, oh, they never wanted him. True. They probably didn't want him. The way you know that is because they passed on him in the draft, not just in the first round, but then all the way down the draft until they got to the 5th round, including drafting Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd. So it's not like they were out of the quarterback market. They quite clearly did not want Shedeur Sanders, and then at some point in the draft determined that the gamble, the cost of drafting him anyway, is worth it, right? Like, we don't really think this guy is a starting quarterback in the NFL, but we're in the 5th round. What if we're wrong? What the hell? Let's roll the dice, right? So that's probably a very accurate interpretation. They did not want Shedeur Sanders. They weren't in love with him as a prospect. They did not think that he had a starting quarterback potential, which is why Dillon Gabriel was drafted ahead of him, which is why Dillon Gabriel has been ahead of him on the depth chart the whole way, which is why Dillon Gabriel is getting all the starting reps right now, which is why Shedeur Sanders comes into the game and doesn't look good right away. That part is true. They do not think that he has a huge amount of chance of turning into a starting quarterback in the NFL, and they might be right about that. The thing is, the only way Sanders can change their mind is in a difficult situation. Like, that's, again, it's all normal. That's the difference. Like, that's what the kernel of truth is, yeah, they probably don't think he can start in the NFL. What you're missing in this is an outrage, is that's true for every quarterback that's 3rd on the depth chart heading into the NFL.
Just be consistent with it. They weren't like when Gardner Minshew came in, when Spencer Rattler came in, when Tom Brady came in, we weren't calculating how many first-team reps did they have.
Nobody's rolling into the NFL with a QB 3 on the depth chart who was drafted in the 5th round that's getting like set up for success.
Yeah,
find me that guy and then you have a point.
That's what Rich was kind of hinting at. It's like, man, they just don't have this development plan for Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
No.
Because he's a 5th round quarterback, 3rd in the depth chart. 4th at the time. I mean, remember, Kenny Pickett was ahead of him.
Oh, by the way, we said this at the beginning of the year. I know it's really tough for people to think 2 years out. And we just focus on, well, this year, Browns quarterbacks suck. I mean, we just said a year ago, like they spent a 3 and a 5 on 2 quarterbacks. And they're probably not going to be good. Of course they're going to draft a quarterback in the 1st round. They have 2 picks next year.
Yeah.
And so they're probably drafting Fernando Mendoza or Ty Simpson or whoever's there. And then it's going to be trade watch. Right. Like who's going to trade for Shedeur and just hand him the keys to the franchise.
Mohall in the chat is pointing out that we were both on Shedeur Sanders as a 1st-round draft pick. And it's important to point out the difference between evaluating the state of the world as the Browns have laid it out, i.e. the way the draft unfolded, and evaluating the counterfactual or the hypothetical world where what would have happened had we been in charge of the Browns and drafted Shedeur in the 1st round. Like, these are 2 different worlds, one of which is make-believe, right?
I also may have reconsidered after that we were just doing that off tape and not really knowing
of course,
what
yeah,
else
like
about the kid.
Even independent
or
of the
behind
fact that we didn't get a
scenes,
chance, like there's a bunch of
but
stuff
I know where
that's
you're going to
relevant.
go. I'll finish your thought.
Yeah, that there's a bunch of stuff that's relevant to the evaluation process that we were not privy to. Neither of us sat down and interviewed Shedeur Sanders pre-draft. That might have changed your opinion on him as a first-round draft pick. Even if you assume for a moment that all checked out and you bought into that as, he's just getting screwed by everybody else and I like the moxie, and you would have drafted him in the first round. That obviously changes everything. Like at that point, he is your heir apparent. At that point,
you have a development plan, and you do.
At that point, he is number 2 on the depth chart. He's getting the snaps that Dylan Gabriel was getting while Joe Flacco held the clipboard for a month or so. And then he's the starting quarterback at week 4. And of course, you set him up for success at that point. It's a whole different world. But that's not the world we were presented with. Once you got clear of the draft, it became clear that whatever we thought about him as a prospect, which again may be missing significant information, whatever we thought about him at that point, the NFL writ large has determined that this kid is not a starting quarterback. If they thought that, somebody would have drafted him on day 1 or 2. They didn't. The entire league passed on him several times over. The league determined this guy was a backup quarterback at best, and therefore the whole picture changes. Like once you're a backup, how the league behaves towards you is totally different. And that's the thing. Again, this is the hurdle that everybody pro Shedeur doesn't get past, right? I thought he was a first-round draft pick. I thought and think he's a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. Therefore, he should be treated this way. Like, yeah, but the league doesn't think that, so it's irrelevant.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you think anymore.
And more specifically, the Browns.
Yeah.
The Brown, like when you go into,
but
you
don't know. I think it's important to say the league because this is not a Brown-specific behavioral issue. This is not, they are treating Shedeur like he's dirt on the sole of their shoe. The entire league would treat this kid exactly the same, which is you're a day 3 pick, you're the 3rd quarterback on the depth chart, 2nd now. You get no chance. Like, this is your chance, which is fresh off the bench without ever throwing to Jerry Jeudy. Right. Unlucky. It's not fair, but it's the same chance anybody else gets.
And so, yeah, that's the main point. It doesn't matter who thought he was going to go in the first round.
Right.
He didn't.
Exactly.
And especially for the Browns.
And that changes the world.
The Browns also drafted another quarterback ahead of him.
Yes.
So clearly, like, I'm not in their draft room. I'm just going to make an assumption that the Browns overall as an organization liked Dylan Gabriel more than Shedeur Sanders. I don't know how I could find that out, but
like Washington didn't set Kirk Cousins up for success other than the fact that they murdered their starting quarterback by getting him hurt multiple times over. Like they weren't out here being like, what's the pathway to make sure Kirk Cousins jumps over RG3 on the depth chart, right? There was no meeting during which that was said. They were like, yeah, we like Kirk Cousins. Let's grab him, later on the draft, even though we just drafted RG3. But like the end, they didn't then spend the next 6 months strategizing how best to maximize Kirk Cousins. They just had him sitting his ass on the depth chart, running the scout team. And then when RG3 went down, it's like, in you go, Kirk. And he actually played well because apparently Kirk Cousins is a starting caliber NFL quarterback, right? This world that they're inventing in their head of what is this pathway for a 5th-round rookie, it doesn't exist.
Where was Brock Purdy's first team reps? Right. How many did he have? We have to calculate them all going forward here.
What was the pathway to success for Brock Purdy?
A lot of former backup quarterbacks. I think Luke McCown was out there. And all these quarterbacks are like, hello, journeyman quarterback here. I don't know what you people I don't know where this talking point's even coming from about first team reps. That doesn't exist.
Correct.
For a non-first-round quarterback. And even Drake May as the backup taking first-round reps. We talked about that as
that was criticized by some people.
Yeah, that was. It was. It's like, you're not doing Jacoby Brissett a solid.
Right.
It's like, no offense to Jacoby Brissett, who now has the completion record for a game. No offense to Jacoby Brissett, but the Patriots weren't like trying to get him ready to be the Patriots quarterback of the future. It doesn't matter if they did well by Jacoby Brissett, who's not even in the building anymore.
And the Luke McCown post, I think, was interesting. You can go read it on Twitter if you're so inclined. Because, you could make the argument that, well, maybe they should have this pathway for every quarterback, right? Because the payoff, the benefit, the value of hitting on a Brock Purdy, right? Low-round quarterback nobody thought was any good, but actually turns out is huge. So why would you not have some kind of
fair
development?
Argument, I would say.
Yeah, it is. But the Luke McCown post, I think, illustrates the issue with that, which is you just do not have the reps to go around, right? Like he's saying you've got 4 or 5 sort of specific team things that you do in a given practice, and each one of those has 7, 8 reps. You can't give 3 of those to the backup. Like every one of those reps is valuable for the starting quarterback. Again, particularly if your starting quarterback is young, inexperienced, and needs all the reps he can get. So it's like you just don't have. There just isn't this wealth of like endless reps to go around for these young quarterbacks that you want to get. And again, if you're giving those reps to the QB3, what are you doing to QB2? Does he just get screwed, or do you have to set him up for success as well? Like at that point, the starter is getting 3 reps. Like of each period of practice, like what does that do to anybody?
I'm already shocked at how few reps they get, and I can't believe that
That's
they
what I'm
can
saying.
execute
Exactly
the entire playbook.
So it's like, yeah,
the starters I'm talking
the
about.
argument is fair that if you really wanted to maximize the chance that your 5th round rookie actually turned out to be a useful quarterback and you got incredible value out of that, that's totally reasonable. But now you need to change practice. Like now you need to go back to the CBA and say, you know what, instead of whatever this is, 30, 40 reps in a practice, I need 120 minimum.
I mean, then you get into a whole different discussion. The NFL Players Association has been fighting so much for player safety,
right?
Which has come through in fewer practice reps, fewer OTAs. Like everything is less football in the off season, which is fine.
Yeah.
But then, the effect of that is offensive line development, quarterback development, right? So that's the fallout for the things that they've been fighting for the most.
Correct.
Which is, fewer reps essentially.
Yeah. So this is the NFL landscape right now. If you want to create a pathway for people like Shedeur Sanders, it likely involves something else. It involves the UFL. It involves sending them to Italy or whatever. Like it's something different. It's
Send
not
them to Italy.
Well, I pick Italy out as one of those semi-pro leagues, right? A league that's actually, it's not the NFL, but you need a venue for these kids to actually play football that isn't the NFL and/or practice reps that they're not going to get any of, right? And at the moment, again, that doesn't exist. So that's the issue. Like the pathway for these 5th-round rookies to be good NFL starters does not exist currently, and that's not the Browns' fault. That's not Kevin Stefanski's fault. He's simply operating within the current parameters entirely normally. And everyone who's pro Shedeur is losing their mind at it because they're like, well, that doesn't help my kid. No, it doesn't. But that's not Stefanski's fault.
I just can't believe some the takes that have come out since the draft on Shedeur. The people bringing up, well, they called the better plays for Dylan Gabriel in the preseason.
But that falls under the category of so
this
crazy.
This got to be the extreme.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, but it's also an NFL media member. And now this guy, former NFL MVP, with the dude's been in NFL buildings, and he literally thinks that the coach is sabotaging the 5th-round pick. For what purpose?
Does he think that, or does he just think that'll get some traction when he talks?
I don't know.
But this is that's the people that are like, oh, they're not calling the good plays for Shedeur. I put that into the category of so crazy it's not worth engaging with. But I think
that's what I said Monday morning about the stuff that we brought up.
Yeah, but I think with each one of these things, again, we've kind of zeroed in on the kernel of truth that is worth discussing.
Yeah.
Like it is fair to say that this is not a situation that sets Shedeur Sanders up for success. It is also fair to say, the Browns probably never wanted Shedeur Sanders as their starting quarterback.
And that's the expectation.
Right. Yes, that's the problem. That's the other shoe that they never let drop during these conversations is both of those things are true. However, they're also quite normal. Like that's the thing you're missing here in this whole dynamic. Like, and again, Rich Eisen's part of it is explained by the fact that he is a legitimate family friend. He is genuinely biased and admits so, and therefore just isn't seeing that part of it. Like from his perspective, it's like this is deeply unfair to somebody that I have, genuine affection for, and no. And you're like, yeah, it is. I get it. This screws Shedeur Sanders, right? Had Shedeur Sanders been a first-round draft pick, the whole world would be treating him very differently to right now. And that is unfortunate from his perspective. Again, if you take the opinion that wasn't his fault, and maybe it was. But that's just the reality of the NFL. Like, it's not unique to him. He's not being individually screwed by this. This is just what happens to every quarterback that doesn't go in the first 3 rounds.
Or every player in sports.
Well,
that's as a former undrafted free agent.
3 times over.
I can't believe they drafted Madison Bumgarner while I was.
I can't believe they treated him differently to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't believe they let him get into a fight his first day of instructs and didn't send him home. First round pick.
That being said, with all of this stuff, right, despite all of this, despite being actively sabotaged by his head coach, despite his entire franchise not wanting him there.
Overcoming the odds.
Right, despite everybody drafted ahead of him, despite all of these things, and them never calling the good plays, he now has an opportunity to go out there and win a starting job by starting in a football game, or at least win it for a bit.
It's part of our news update.
But you know what I mean? Like,
spend another 20 minutes on it.
Even if you're of the opinion that Shedeur has been screwed by the system, he's about to get, I mean, he either has or he's about to be named the starter for this upcoming week. The dude is going to get an opportunity, however limited, to go out there and show that he belongs. And that, I mean, what more do you need? Most fifth-round quarterbacks are never getting that opportunity.
No, that's true.
Like, this is however much the system is screwing Shedeur right now, the dude is still out there with a chance to win a starting job or win something longer in terms of a look by going out there and balling against not a good team.
If he does finish strong and the Browns still decide to, we'll talk about it in a few minutes here. I got to tell you about our friends. Are we done with Shouty Shows? Friends over at FanDuel. A new offer for NFL fans you don't want to miss. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win, even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand. FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you could even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join because FanDuel is giving new customers $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Must be 21 plus and present in select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. First online real money. Yeah, we did that. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-878-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Nailed it again. Today we're looking ahead to Thursday Night Football, where we will have a watch-along for our members. Live watch-along for Bills-Texans.
From the studio.
So we'll be keeping track of FanDuel prop bet, Josh Allen, over under 33.5 rushing yards.
Against the Houston defense.
You are a QB rushing yard over
always
type of guy, but 33.5 against the Texans. If I can remind you, last year, Josh Allen went 9 for 30 against the Houston Texans defense, passing. 9 for 30. It doesn't mean it was all him.
Right.
A couple nice passes dropped. His accuracy was off that day. So, in a game where this...
Don't give me half a story. What was his rushing total that day?
That's all I remember is that he was 9 for 30. And because...
Come to me with half a thing. I need the other side of that. I'll find it. Don't worry.
All right.
I got it.
But my point was, because he had such a difficult time, completing passes last year, does he lead on his legs?
Houston, 4 for 54.
Will he do that again?
Yes.
Over 33.5?
Be for exactly the same reason. He's going to struggle against the pass. Houston's defense is amazing. He's going to be under pressure a lot. He's going to run.
I'm going to go under this finally. I'm going to go under the 33.5. I thought last year it's a different offense. He was chucking it deep last year. He had Matt Collins, he was stretching the field last year. This year it's a little bit more dink and dunk, underneath pass game. I think that's what they're going to lean on against Houston. So that's just a huge number. I'll go under the 33.5. It's all over at FanDuel. Check it out, FanDuel.com/33rd. All right, man, time for the Wednesday update. Wednesday update.
Cue.
And here we are.
Now it's time
Wednesday.
for the Wednesday update, brought to you by the Cincinnati Bugler.
Per the Bugler.
I got to bring in that hat at some point. Put it on.
Senior Bowl. Maybe when we go
wear
to
it for the Senior Bowl, yeah.
Yeah.
I need the hat because, bald head, sunshine, Florida. Not Florida. Where are we? Mobile, Alabama. Almost. Florida adjacent. You need I need the hat to protect the noggin.
They might not let you on the sideline with that.
With a press hat, surely I'll be escorted to the sideline.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, you'll just be presented to all the general managers. They're like, here, talk to him.
Yeah.
He's got dirt.
I need one of those like little flip notepads as well.
Yeah.
Tiny little small ones with the rings.
You might be able to step in front of like Burt Breer or whatever instead of him stepping in front of me stealing my
Maybe I should do that.
conversations.
Maybe we should do that as a bit. Like, you find all the insider people, Burt Breer, Rap Sheet.
And just jump into their conversations like
cut
they do
right in front of them. Not even jump into their conversations. Just if he's talking to somebody important, right? I just walk right in front of him, step right in front of him. They're all pretty small, those guys, as well.
You flip one sheet and then, hey, GM, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, Quasi.
It would be even funnier if you were doing it because you obviously dwarf all of them. I mean, all those guys are reasonably short. I would be able to cut in front of most of them.
That's why they're ruthless, though,
the
in their
tallest
ability
insider?
to ignore lesser people to go find important people.
This is a correlation I haven't put together before, but there's some sort of height requirement for insiders. They're all
you could be 5'8" or shorter.
Yeah, all of them. Think about
Breer's
it.
not that short.
He's not tall.
Yeah.
But, like, Breer's the giant amongst the group, right?
You notice those things. I don't see height. You're all
Rap
just
Sheet,
short.
tiny. Schefter, tiny. Jay Glazer, tiny and wide. They're all, I can't use the word to describe what I would use back in the day.
Double arm sleeve, tatted left and right.
They're all equal people.
Yeah. I think they all have a little bunch of Napoleon complex people.
Like even Tom Pelissero's shorter, Breer is, I think, the tallest of them I can think of. And even Breer's not taller than me, right?
I mean, we'll have to investigate. The Bugler will be on this. We'll have
investigative journalism.
We'll have full heights in the Bugler come February.
Senior Bowl measurements.
Yeah, Senior Bowl. We'll get arm lengths, too. What do you think Rap Sheet's arm length is?
24.
It's the Wednesday update. Shedeur Sanders to start. That's part of our list. Do we want to just start with that? Just talk. We get 2 minutes on this. Shedeur Sanders getting the start because Dillon Gabriel still in concussion syndrome.
I mean, look, as we discussed, despite everything, he's getting an opportunity to start a game, and it's against Las Vegas. Like, this is the opportunity to show that you belong in the NFL. If he plays the way he played last week, that's it. He's done. If he doesn't, if he actually goes out there and absent a good defense going up against him, he has a better behavior in the pocket. He actually pushes the ball down the field and connects on some of these passes, and the Browns' offense suddenly catches fire. Well, then you have an interesting discussion. Now you're like, all right, is the flaw that Shedeur Sanders deals with a smaller flaw than the one, and does his positive outweigh his flaw more than Dillon Gabriel's positives outweigh his negatives, right? That we talked about him early in the week. They're almost polar opposite quarterbacks the way they behave right now. But if Shedeur goes out in this game and the offense is the best it's looked this season, even if it's against the Raiders, right? Like, it's a little bit of an asterisk. But if it looks legit, well, then despite everything, you've bought yourself a chance, and that's all he can do.
I'm not ready. I mean, no matter which way it goes, I'm not ready for the discourse. I'm not ready for it. Because I think what's interesting here is if he has a good game, and then they say, all right, we want to build on that, even though they already said Gabriel will be the starter. But so if he has if it's just a one-game sample, and it goes well, then we might have an offseason of trade talks and the Jets, all the QB-needy teams. Then it's like Shedeur Sanders against this is what's going to happen, Sam. Shedeur goes 20 of 26 for 250, 2 touchdowns, still gets sacked a few times, but he tears apart this Raiders defense this week. And the offense looks different. That would be something, by the way, because the offense does not look good under Joe Flacco and Dillon Gabriel. If you just get this aesthetically pleasing offense, it just looks like it's got some life.
Yeah.
There's probably something there. But if that happens and then they go back to Dillon Gabriel, then all of a sudden it's like, all right, got to get Shedeur out of town. Get him out of here. They're holding him back. But, like, literally, we should have legit discussions. Like, should someone else bring him in and give him a shot? Like, should the Jets, who have all these picks, draft Mendoza and trade for Shedeur Sanders and go compete?
It's too small of a sample size against too bad an opponent to take anything significant about it. So I don't want to spend any kind of significant time talking about what the chaos is going to come from this. Like, the point is, he finally gets an opportunity to start a game, which is what everyone's been clamoring for. Now let's sit back and watch how it goes.
So that's happening this weekend. We've got our preview show tomorrow. We'll talk about it even more. We have Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase officially suspended for 1 game after spitting on Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, evidently the investigation determined that video was not AI, and therefore he spat on him. So
I think
absolutely,
AI is good enough to really.
Well, I think it is. I assumed it was real, but you can never tell. And I didn't want to be the one doing the investigation. So yeah, look, I think that's fair. In fact, honestly, I don't think it's not enough. I would have a sterner punishment than that for people that spit. But the NFL basically set the precedent at the start of the season with Jalen Carter, so this was likely what it was always going to be, and fair enough. And as people have said, whatever punishment was headed Jalen Ramsey's way should be rescinded. Like if he's going to get fined or whatever for throwing a punch, take it away. If somebody spits on you, all bets are off. And Mike Tomlin basically said this. Like he was asked, hey, you going to say anything? Are you going to correct anything that Jalen Ramsey did? And he's like, I'm not going to tell anyone what to do if somebody spits on him. Do what's in your, do what comes naturally to you, I think he said, which frankly is punch the guy, right? And I think that's entirely fair. So no punishment should be coming Jalen Ramsey's way. If John Runyon has any integrity left in his soul, John Runyon should make sure that Jalen Ramsey does not get punished for throwing a punch.
Think anyone spit on John Runyon?
Probably.
You ever been spit at?
Have I ever been spit? I don't think so. But I would definitely immediately start a fight if that happened.
Yeah.
There's something about spitting that just clicks.
Is that wrong, though? Is
And
that worse than I saw? I don't want to get into it. Connor Orr, Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Went the other way. It's like if you equate spitting to violence, like what are we actually doing here?
Oh, no. I think spitting is one of those things that should – this
kind of like a societal honor,
well,
disrespect type of thing. But is it actually worse than physically assaulting
100%.
somebody? I don't know
think
that
it is. I think it absolutely is. There's, we're in this world of like, social media has created this landscape now where people just say things without the fear of getting punched in the face, right? I'm not in person, therefore I can say what I like. And that's a bad thing, I think, generally. There was a self-regulatory effect of being in person to people where you could only say certain things because if you say other things, you're going to get slapped, right? I think that's a good thing. Like your brain
should get slapped.
Exactly. There are things that you shouldn't say. And if you do say them, back in the day, somebody would immediately slap you upside the head for that. And I think that was a good thing to modify people's behavior. Absent that, we get social media and the whole world spirals out of control. Spitting is the same thing. I think there are certain things that should immediately trigger getting punched. And that is one of them. If you spit on somebody, the first thing that should happen is you get smacked right in the head. I've nothing wrong with that. I think that's a good thing for society. And I think anyone claiming otherwise is out of their minds.
We'll leave it at that. Let's go. Aaron Rodgers, wrist injury, doesn't need surgery, status, TBD. He's got the Bears this weekend.
And is fighting to play. Rodgers, like he wants to play.
Yeah, I mean, he had to come out of the game Sunday. He tried to play through it. I'm assuming if you can cast it or do, I don't know what you're going to do with it.
Yeah, I would
do
assume
something to protect it.
I mean, I would assume he's playing.
Play.
The question just becomes how problematic is it going to be handing off?
Can he take snaps? Can he execute handoffs?
Yeah,
I think those are going to.
So I'm like, I would be 90% sure that he plays the game or at least starts the game, and the question becomes how much of a problem is it?
Let's talk Falcons.
Let's.
Double whammy. Michael Penix Jr. Originally said maybe he misses the season. He's at least going to miss the 4 weeks. He's been put on injured reserve. They said it's an ACL injury. Rap sheet saying there's been damage to the ACL, could mean full reconstruction. This is his third ACL injury in the last 5 or 6 years. And
aggravated the bone bruise.
Yes. So there's that. And then Drake London with a PCL sprain. He's going to be out at least a week. The Michael Penix Jr. discussion, Sam, it's really interesting because he was drafted at 8 overall in the fashion that he did. We spent a lot of time talking about the decision by the Falcons, which if you're just tuning in, they spent the most money of any team on a quarterback during that free agency period, which was Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. When that happens, 100 years of NFL football, or say 30 years of salary cap football, you don't draft a quarterback high. Well, the Falcons did. They drafted Penix at 8, so it was one of the one of the boldest draft moves in history. But because that was the situation, and we spent so much time talking about the decision, take one step back. And when you talked about Michael Penix Jr., the player, the thing that always came up was the injuries and the multiple knee injuries. And so I feel like we spent a lot of time talking about the process and the Falcons and how interesting it was. But then you go back and whether you loved Michael Penix Jr. or not, the biggest question was his injury history. there was questions about overall him as a, is he a top end of the first round prospect? Is he a back end of the first? Is he a second round prospect? I think there were wide opinions on that, but you have the injury history of Michael Penix Jr. And now all of a sudden he missed some time last year, but now this year, second time he's been hurt. And of course this could end up being a season ender.
Yeah. And the fact that it's an ACL, which has already happened twice before in his past, I mean, that's definitely worrying. And the fact that it happened, I mean, it progressed so quickly. It's kind of like the J.J. McCarthy thing last year where it went from like, he's hurt and he might miss a bit of time to, oh, no, he's done. The year, shut him down.
And we're talking, this is a franchise-defining turn of events, right? Not only did they go all in on Michael Penix and essentially eat a whole lot of dead money to have Kirk Cousins as their backup, but then, of course, they traded next year's first rounder to go get James Pierce. And because they're 3-7, that first rounder is now pick 8 or 9 for the Rams. And so, there's a lot going on in Atlanta. The other question about Michael Penix was his age. So he's older with an injury history.
Yeah.
So again, evaluation aside, when you're deciding on a quarterback, age, injury history, like all of that stuff comes in. You had both of those strikes against Penix, and now the injury pops up. I think the age thing's generally overrated for quarterbacks, but
yeah,
the injury thing is real if it pops up, and it has. And so now you have Atlanta with, multiple years into Terry Fontenot as general manager. Like, there's a lot going on down there because they're 3-7 and they don't have a whole lot of draft capital going forward. They have an injured quarterback. There's a lot here.
Yeah, I mean, it's real in two different ways. It's real if it indicates a problematic playing style that is going to be an issue going forward, right? So if a guy is got an extensive injury history because he plays recklessly, and that's going to only increase at the NFL level, well, now you're dealing with a quarterback who may never be healthy. Maybe that's the Carson Wentz gig. Or it's problematic, and this might be the Carson Wentz thing as well, or it's problematic if it illustrates this guy simply is unfortunately brittle, right? For whatever reason, there are some people that just get hurt more than other people. And if he's one of those, that's also a problem because you need your starting quarterback. So in either case, it's a concern. And yeah, this is, worst case for the Falcons and for Penix. Number one, he hasn't played well this year relative to what expectations were coming into the year. And number two, he's been shut down at least for half the remaining season with a knee injury, which is the worst possible thing he could be shut down with because his knee injury history is already concerning. So, yeah, that's worrying times for Atlanta. And by the way, number three, you're 3-7 or whatever it is, and you're probably your season's probably already done, irrespective of who your quarterback is.
Yeah, haven't won since the Monday night game against Buffalo, and a once promising start to the season. All of a sudden, they haven't won in a month. Texans rule out C.J. Stroud for Thursday Night Football. This will be his third straight game missed with a concussion, but I think he was back at practice.
Third straight? He left the first one, right? Is this already a third game?
No, you're right. He left the
right.
Left the Jags
Left game, miss game, will miss game.
Right?
I think.
Yeah. Anyway, I think he's back at practice and should be fine for next week. I think it would be close if this was a Sunday game. I think it would be closer. But it's Thursday night, so he'll be out for tomorrow night, our watch-along, Davis Mills against Josh Allen. That's not great marketing, but, join us for the watch-along tomorrow night. J.K. Dobbins with another injury, season-ending surgery, foot injury for J.K. Dobbins.
Dude, that guy cannot catch a break.
Yeah. So Broncos losing Dobbins, who's the corner now? TCU corner.
Jason Verrett.
Jason Verrett of our time here.
Well, yeah, I guess in the way that I can't think of too many players that have had as many significant injuries to, particularly for a running back, to lower half, right? Leg injuries, who every time they come back still look really good. Usually when
Nick
a running
Chubb,
back,
maybe.
No,
have been spread out over his entire career going
and
back to
he's
college.
clearly not the player that he used to be anymore. Nick Chubb's last devastating knee injury, he's no longer really Nick Chubb. He's still a useful player, but we're dealing with a different human. Every time J.K. Dobbins comes back, it's he's still the best running back on whatever depth chart he's in. He still makes a massive impact to whatever offense he's on. It still looks like a difference maker. That's insane for a running back, where that position more than anything needs, the second you start chipping away at any kind of 100% health, the guy's just not the same. The dude is remarkable with the perseverance he has to keep coming back and still looking really good. And then it just never lasts, and he gets hurt again.
And every time it's a big play element. When you say he looks good, it's like, he still has this burst, and he's got this little extra juice that usually his teammates, the running backs in the same room, aren't bringing to the table. That was true when he was with the Chargers. That was true when he was with the Ravens. That's been true for, like you said, all of Dobbins' career. So unfortunate hearing that again. We've got the Jets signing defensive tackle Khalen Saunders. It's on here. He's a backup dancer for Taylor Swift. His brother is. Is that right?
His brother, I think. Yeah.
His brother, not Saunders?
I don't believe so.
What a storyline when he had the interception and his brother and on Monday Night Football. That was it.
No, that would be a remarkable story if he was the backup dancer.
It would be.
Yeah.
He probably could be.
Maybe.
Don't sell him short.
One big piece of news that I don't see on the rundown that we should talk about is Lane Johnson, who, remember, was injured, came back to play last week, didn't last very long against Aiden Hutchinson of the Lions before he hobbled to the locker room. He apparently suffered a Liz Frank sprain and is now out for the next 4 to 6 weeks because of that foot injury. And that's one of those injuries that it's like turf toe, it like lingers potentially. And it's
usually a season, isn't it? If it's a break, is it a difference between a break and just a...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a case of how torn the thing is. But the point is, it's one of those... Like we talked before, the way you used to think when you heard microfracture, it was like, just raises a little alarm bells in the head. When you hear Liz Frank, it's always one of those, So he's out 4 to 6 weeks, likely lands him on IR, but the belief is it's not season ending for him. The point is, though, I mean, Lane Johnson, arguably the best offensive tackle in the NFL. It's a massive blow to an offense that's already not in its groove.
Is this the third straight season now he's missed some time? I mean, 2 years ago, he was playing through incredible injury.
Yeah.
And this year, missing time. Last year, he missed a little bit of time. Fred Johnson is the backup. Remember, his path, too. Fred Johnson was like with the Jags in training camp, and then the Eagles, who invested in a whole bunch of developmental tackles this offseason in the draft, traded for Fred Johnson because they plugged him in last year, and the offense was fine. He's certainly no Lane Johnson, though. Like Lane,
right.
Maybe the best pass protecting tackle in the league, good run blocker. He is great overall, and we'll see if he can come back in time for the playoffs. 4 to 6 weeks with no aggravation puts you right at January, right at playoff time. Good addition there. Other injury news: we got Josh Jacobs, Packers running back, no structural knee damage, potentially could play this week. There, he had to leave the game last week. Emmanuel Wilson stepped in. Wilson runs the ball well. We'll see if there's some sort of, timeshare deal or whatever coming out of that, but at least there's nothing long-term there with Jacobs. Sam Laporta, Lions tight end, missed last week. No return timeline for him. And so Dan Campbell's not really sure about his return this season from back injury. That's a big loss for the Lions. What makes their offense so special is their ability to attack with so many different style players who are difficult to cover, and Laporta has been one of the better receiving tight ends in the league.
That was a weird one as well. That's another one of these ones that popped up in practice, right? And it was one of those, like the Travis Hunter thing, where it's like immediately to IR. Like he went, oh, by the way, during the week, Sam Laporta just a back injury came out of nowhere, and he's immediately shut down to IR.
I don't think it was. They were hoping to see if he was going to practice last week, I think, and he just never did. So,
but he did land on IR pretty much immediately, right? Like he went from we discussed the game to Sam Laporta's actually, not only is he not playing in the game, but he's on IR because of a back injury that flared up during the week. And it's one of those ones where it's like, I mean, look, back injuries can be like this, but there's details are a little murky on what the hell happened, what is this, why, where is he coming back, et cetera. So, yeah, I mean, it's a big loss for Detroit and slightly weird circumstances.
And the Lions had been, really healthy. Last year they were incredibly unhealthy on the defensive side of the ball. Tons of injuries, but the offense stayed healthy. This year, their offensive line's taken a big hit. I think almost every offensive lineman for them has been hurt in and out of the lineup, and now you got Laporta and that injury for the Lions. Calvin Ridley, Titans wide receiver, he's out for the season.
Yep.
Was it just one snap the other day? It was one
I think
receiving
so.
snap. I know that.
Where you got to catch.
Yeah,
one snap, one
broken
target, one
fibula,
catch.
out for the season. Another one of those. Man, that's tough on Ridley at this point in his career. But then Cam Ward and his development. He played a bunch of games without Calvin Ridley, but at least having that dependable receiver out there helps the development of the young quarterback. He won't have that here down the stretch. And then a couple of running backs, Bashal Tutin, Amari DiMercado, both injured, both ankle injuries. Keep an eye on those around the league. Tutin for the Jags, DiMercado for the Cardinals. And they're playing each other this weekend.
Yeah.
Tutin versus DiMercado, theoretically.
Well, yeah, if they play.
Did you have any other news to add to the Wednesday update?
I don't think so. I think that's everything.
Mina Kimes coming up later. She's going to finish the show with us here. But first, quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates. So they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors. After a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or you lock your keys in the car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into Roadside Assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. Today, Sam, we're providing Roadside Assistance to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh.
Sitting here at 5-5. Talked about them a little bit earlier during the Colin Cowherd, it's all Mahomes' fault breakdown.
So obviously the solution is to put in the backup.
Gardner Minshew can
There you
take
go.
them to new heights.
Just put in Minshew.
Roadside Assistance for the Chiefs. So what have we seen this year? They're 5-5. They are 0-5 in one-score games. I believe it's 1-5 against teams with winning records at this point. They beat the Lions, lost to pretty much every other team with the winning record off the top of my head. They have a better point differential, though, because they did beat up on the Raiders, beat up on the Commanders, relative to last year. Last year, they were, my phrase, calibrated to win by 3.
Well, this is the thing. This is what belies that whole narrative last year and why, we got to Christmas or whatever, and Ryan Fitzpatrick was pulling his hair out, being like, this cannot last. Like, you can't keep winning these improbable, ridiculous games by one score. And then I think something did change in the postseason, and they did kind of pull themselves together. But this narrative of, they're sandbagging, they're not calling the good plays yet, they're waiting until January, they're, blah, blah, blah. It's why I don't think it was ever really true. They got the good end of variance, and they won all these one-score games. And now, if that was the case, if they were sandbagging and they never play, they never call the good plays until January, and that's just a break glass in case of emergency deal. Well, now's the emergency. Like, now would be the time to go get the goodie plays.
The last 2 weeks were the emergency.
Right.
They didn't against the Bills.
Exactly.
And
so if that was the case, you'd be calling the good plays now because you need them.
And I said in the Bills game, they called a great play. That 4th and 17, fake sprint both ways setup. Like those are playoff type plays. Like those are the plays you do break out in case of emergency. I think they have done that. So the last 2 weeks against the Bills and against the Broncos, they were obviously huge games, and they lost. So I still don't think it's really panic mode. That's what's interesting about football analysis, right? Like a lot of Chiefs people are like, oh, what's wrong with the offense? And now it's the run game, and now they don't run under center enough. And, Colin's blaming Mahomes, and it's like a lot of things to blame. And we weren't really having that same analysis last year because they blocked a field goal. And the Raiders,
there's no blame to go around because they were winning.
The games that they lost last year, it was like a defensive pass interference against the Bengals to on 4th and 18 to keep them alive. They barely snuck by the Panthers, who were really bad at the time when they played them last year. They beat the Falcons on a 4th down stop in their own territory, which may have been pass interference in the end zone. They had the Raiders in field goal range, and it didn't even have to block the field goal. The Raiders just dropped the snap, and the game ended.
Right.
They blocked a field goal against the Broncos. And so they all went their way last year. If you flip 5 or 6 very, very close results last year, a lot of things change, and it's like panic mode. And so this year, those results have changed. I think it's been more than just like one play with the Kansas City Chiefs losing, though, this year. But that just shows in other words, like this year versus last year is not that different.
No.
outside, especially of a few plays that happened more last year than this year.
And Mahomes has already said it. Like, ultimately, the only thing that really matters is getting to the playoffs. And once they get to the playoffs, there's still something to this idea that nobody has a better level of inbuilt confidence than the Chiefs, who have been there, done that, and know they can win any game in the postseason, right? So if this team gets to the playoffs, I don't think there's any concern. I think they can still beat anybody, and they could still be the Super Bowl team from the AFC. The problem is that's no longer in their control. So theoretically, if they win out, I would imagine almost certainly they're still in the playoffs. But they don't control that anymore, and that is at least a problem.
Yeah, and they're in this stretch right now. They've got the Colts this week. They go to Dallas for Thanksgiving. So they've got this, it'll be a 4-day stretch that essentially determines their season. I saw Timo Riska, our old colleague at PFF, putting up his playoff leverage charts. Mm-hmm. And he was saying this is probably the biggest playoff leverage game the Chiefs have played
ever in
the Mahomes era,
era,
right?
Yeah.
Since 2017. It's something like a win puts them at 60%, a win puts them at like 30%. I mean, it is the biggest game. Because if you look at the Chiefs' schedule, they have 2, let's assume, wins against the Titans and the Raiders. Those are the only clear assumed wins, I would say. I think Dallas is going to be tough on Thanksgiving. Houston, assuming Stroud's back, is going to be tough. They've got the Chargers again. Like, they should be favored in a lot of these games. But they got the Broncos again. I did see Perna bring up the scenario. Was it him? Maybe. Like, the Broncos on Christmas night could be in a spot to, like, rest their starters against the Chiefs. Like, they could be that comfortable to rest their starters on Christmas night, which is wild.
But also, I mean, was it who had this exact situation recently? But they're in that situation where they have to decide between resting their starters for their own benefit or knocking a team like Kansas City out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, they could actually have that decision, which is, should we rest everybody knowing that that's kind of what we want to do?
Oh, I don't think you want the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Right. Or should we try and take advantage of the fact that we can kick them out of the playoffs before anything happens?
I think you want them out.
Even independent of whether or not, like, if Kansas City sneaks in and they, like, that's the team they play, like, just eliminating Kansas City before you even get to the playoffs could be on the line for Denver.
So now you have Chiefs fans talking about it's the defense. It's Andy Reid. Andy Reid's lost his fastball. Like, they're not dialing up the plays. And I say this all the time. When you have an offense not playing well, I'm not talking about like the worst offenses in the league, but the offense that just is missing something, it's usually a little bit of everything. I don't think Mahomes has played as well this year, even relative to the last 2 years. I don't think play for play he's played as well as he has in the past. I think the receivers have been okay. Tyquan Thornton's been the most dependable. That's a little crazy. Maybe there's some staleness in the play calling or a lack of enough run game or whatever it might be. I hate using the word balance, but just, complementary football. And I do think the defense has been worse against better teams, right? They beat up on the Raiders and the Commanders, much like the offense did. But I think the defense has allowed a lot of third down conversions, like Spags. I don't think has been as good this year, that defense. And maybe some of their offseason losses and the depth that has taken a hit these last couple of years has come back to bite. So I think they're maybe a little bit worse team, but I think they're still going to be okay too. Like, you just keep playing football and you can easily get to 10 wins and get into the playoffs.
Yeah, but again, the problem is that they don't control that. Like, you look at those wild card spots in the AFC. Right now, it's Buffalo, Los Angeles Chargers, and then Jacksonville are the third one. Is that right? You would assume that Buffalo probably is taking one of those spots. So the Chiefs have a chance to dent the Chargers' hope when they play them again. They don't have a chance to overtake them. They still need work there. But, the Chargers, if they keep winning or if they keep being solid, offensive line is a concern. But they could secure the second one. And then it's like, does Jacksonville have enough down the stretch to just stay ahead of Kansas City? Like, it's not, they need help. That's the problem.
I haven't looked forward to see where the Chargers technically have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs because they beat them, but if
and the 2 games ahead, yeah.
But if the Chiefs beat them,
they're still 1 game ahead. Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying, like, if the Chiefs are going to even make a playoff run, they probably have to beat the Chargers anyway. Let's say that they do that. Where does the next tiebreaker come from? Because now you're talking about the Chiefs don't have the tiebreaker against the Jags, who they're competing with. Well, I don't think they will have it against the Chargers. We'll see. And so then it gets to the point where, they could win. They could go 5-2 here, finish 10-7 and maybe not get in because of the Jags and the Chargers and tiebreakers.
Chargers' schedule is pretty tough. Like, that's working against them.
Is.
They have games against Philadelphia, Kansas City, obviously, Dallas, Houston, Denver. The Jags, you would say, have an okay schedule. There's 3 teams left that they would be underdogs against, the Colts twice and Denver. But then they also face the Cardinals, Titans twice, Jets. So you like that from their perspective. There's also the AFC North. If Baltimore and Pittsburgh keep winning, one of those teams would be in the mix as well. So it's definitely not panic stations. It's definitely doable for Kansas City, but it's a rare and maybe unique situation for them with the Mahomes, Andy Reid axis, that they no longer control it, which is very rare.
Yeah, and so I think similar to what I said about the Bills, just go play football. Just go play.
Just win some games.
I mean, for the Bills, it was like, just don't turn it over. And even though they did, they let Allen take over. I mean, let Mahomes do his thing. I would feature Ray Rice a little. Rashee Rice.
I wouldn't feature Ray Rice.
I would not. Well, maybe he might be their best running back. He might be.
How dare you?
He might be better than Kareem Hunt. Rashee Rice a little bit more in the pass game, less on the dink and dunk stuff, and maybe more in the short intermediate game, and hit some of those deep balls for Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they'll be okay. Don't panic, much like the Bills. It's all, go to root.com. Check it out. That's our roadside assistance for the Chiefs. Carry on. Be the Chiefs. Don't lose this week would be the biggest suggestion, too. It's going to be a good one with the Colts.
Yeah.
It's going to be a real good one. Let's go NFL autopsy time. We've got 5 teams currently in the graveyard.
Yeah.
We're going to add 2 more. Season's over. Cause of death for the Las Vegas Raiders and the New York Giants coming up here.
Yeah, this one's, I think, interesting. I don't know that there's a clear cause of death for either team necessarily.
Old coaches. Old coach Pete.
So you would say the cause of death for the Raiders is Geno Smith turning back into a pumpkin. But you'd also say that offensive line is so bad it may never have been workable in the first place.
Yeah.
And maybe people underestimated, collectively, including me, underestimated how bad that offensive line was. And that renders the Ashton Genty pick moot and maybe a mistake. It potentially turns Geno Smith into a pumpkin. And so, like, you're left with the thing, like, if the cause of death may be that the offensive line was just too bad for this thing to ever function. The problem is, how do you put a date on that?
Sometimes when we talk about offensive line, it's you're only doing that because you're watching the games and you're like, man, they can't protect the quarterback, or they just can't run the ball, and you just blame the offensive line. And sometimes it's only half true because the line's good at the other thing, right? They're good pass blocking or bad run blocking or vice versa. With the Raiders, it's both, right? They don't protect Geno that well. And then the run game as a whole, whether it's the line, the tight ends, the scheme, there's just nothing there. There's nothing there for Ashton Genty. And I'm not saying Ashton Genty he should be averaging 5 yards a carry or anything like that. But I think
the safety is the best example of that last week or Monday.
I think he's good, though.
Yeah. But the safety could not have been a clearer example where you're like, and same thing, it's the analysis as well. You do the replays, and the analysis is like, well, if Genty had just, put his head down and plowed straight forward, maybe they wouldn't have had a safety. And like, yeah, but the best he could possibly have done on that play is just get out of the end zone. Like, that's a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not the focus here should not be, did the running back maximize the 6 inches he needed to get his ass out of the end zone and not have a safety? The focus should be, why did the entire offensive line just crap itself and allow Ashton Genty to be buried in the end zone? That's the problem here. We're all focusing on, did Genty really maximize this individual play? Like, should we not be focusing on the fact that every time he gets the ball, he's met by a defender?
And it all works together, man. It's like we always say it's the line, and a lot of times they're not executing their block, but the number of it's the scheme too, man. And that could be the line just not executing and not communicating or whatever. The number of times that there are just unblocked defenders in his face in the backfield, either from a whiffed block or just simply don't have enough bodies, not accounted for, not communicated well. It's absurd. There's a lot of plays that are immediately dead upon arrival.
And it's another team where, like, again, when you lose when you have a line that's already not good and you lose the best 2 players from it, I mean, now you're just an absolute train wreck. And again, I read the names out after Monday, but the starting 5 offensive linemen against Dallas was Jordan Meredith, Will Putnam, Stone Forsythe, Dylan Parham, and DJ Glaze. Like, that doesn't look functional on paper, and it's not functional. So I'm going to go ahead and put the time of death for the Las Vegas Raiders as Sunday, September the 28th, which was when Colton Miller went down for the season, and that was it. That's the line done at that
September
point.
28th, no line, 9/28/25. Now, some might say draft night when they selected the running back over the right tackle, Armand Membu. Some might say that, Sam.
And that would be fair, I think.
In hindsight now, yeah, it certainly is.
Certainly a case you can make.
It's going to be interesting because, if they could fix the line over the next 2 years and all of a sudden you're playing to Ashton Genty's strengths, you don't feel as bad about that draft pick, but in the short term, you feel bad about it.
You have to lose the graphic there in order to see the or move it. I think you can make that case. Like, you could absolutely make the case that that Genty over an offensive lineman. I mean, that's the start of it, maybe. Like, and we made this argument during the draft, right? You can justify taking Genty that high if you think the offensive line is good enough that he can look like Ashton Genty. Whether or not the Raiders thought that or not, they were wrong. Like, evidently that is not the case. That offensive line from day one this season has not looked good enough for Genty to thrive, even survive.
And then you do bring the Geno Smith point up. The fact that he has not played well is a huge factor. Played way worse than he has the last 3 years. There were rumblings that Tom Brady had a hand in, say choosing Geno Smith over Sam Darnold. I know it's easy to say, well, you made the wrong choice. Look what Darnold's doing.
Right.
I don't know that Darnold would have the same success.
No,
with
and
the Raiders.
They're too extreme. It's
not that simple.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because, we'll get into this with Mina in a little bit as well. Like, it's so easy to just A/B analysis this, like Darnold now versus Geno, Darnold versus his situation in Minnesota. But confounding
Darnold
variables.
versus J.J. McCarthy.
Right, like confounding variables everywhere. But I think the situation is absolutely hurting Geno Smith with the Raiders. Like, it's a bad offensive line. He hasn't had Brock Bowers for most of the season. Like, it is hurting and dragging him down into a downward spiral. I think it's also true that he's playing terribly anyway. And then the third element here is that doesn't mean that he was this guy the whole way in Seattle. Like, he played better than this. And there's people out here trying to be like, Geno was never good. People try to tell me he was a top whatever quarterback. I knew it was ridiculous. I knew it was crazy. You're like, this is not what he was back when he had the really good year in Seattle. Like, you can't possibly make that argument.
All right, let's go New York Giants also to the graveyard. Maybe a little late because it's all retroactive. We're just talking about them right now.
We're putting the dates on whatever.
On there.
Time of death is decidable.
I think the death of the season had to be the second half against the Broncos.
The collapse.
Yes.
Okay.
The second half collapse against the Broncos because they haven't won a game since anyway.
Right.
But that was going to give them life, right? They were going to be in this, I think that was right after the Eagles game.
Yeah, where they played so well.
So they were going to go through this. Yeah, we started slow. However, since adding Jackson Dart as starter, we beat the Chargers, we beat the Eagles, now we beat the Broncos in Denver. And who knows what would have happened after that. But I think the second half against the Broncos, that was it.
When did Malik Neighbors get shut down?
Before, was it right when Dart started?
Yeah, it's around the same time. I'm seeing 22 days ago, September the 28th again. Was that the same day?
That was his first game. That's right. It was on a pass in his first start against the Chargers.
So the week before the Eagles game, Neighbors goes
But look
down.
at this run. They would have, if they didn't collapse against the Broncos, the Giants would have beaten the Chargers, Eagles, and Broncos
back to back.
In three out of Dart's 4 starts. Of course, there's a disappointing loss against the Saints, but Dart as a starter would have been 3-1 against 3 really good teams. And that collapsed. And then since that point, it's been lose to the Eagles, lose to the Niners, the Bears, and the Packers.
Yeah, but I think you're right.
I think the second half against the Broncos, October 19th.
Fourth quarter.
So we could say
I like that. I think that's right.
6 Eastern time. 6 p.m. Eastern time on October 19th. Do Mountain Time. Do Mountain Time because it was in Denver. We're anti-Mountain Time here, by the way, on Check the Mic. We do not acknowledge Mountain Time whatsoever, so we would never do that here.
Oh, I got it. Hang on.
What do you got? Sam is adding the cause of death here to the Giants. And then Brian Daboll fired the week of November 9th after the Bears loss. What does it say?
October the
during
19th,
the witching hour.
2025, the witching hour.
During the 4 p.m. witching hour.
During the witching hour, the Denver or the New York Giants expired for
Well
the
done.
season.
We can't fit many more. We're going to have to rip some bricks.
No, I did realize that midway through. Maybe when I was adding the second group, I was like, you know what? This is going to be a problem. We're going to run out of space.
I'm going to have to get my whiteboard over
But
there.
I was like pot committed at that point. I couldn't,
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Anyway.
Turns out the chalkboard paint stuff doesn't work that well, at least.
Yeah.
Either the chalkboard paint or the chalk markers, the combination of the two of them is not great. So if we do want to redo that, it basically involves re-spray painting.
The whole thing?
Re-spray painting the wall.
Do you think
and
my
starting over.
idea, we've got this massive wall over here.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll...
I don't think that's conducive to film. The nice thing about this one, theoretically,
I know, it's
is we
better
can
to
use
film.
that camera and just zoom in on it.
I want the whiteboard wall, though, just for my own reference. Think about it. It's right over there.
No,
We
I know,
had
it
all
is.
the depth charts.
Yeah.
We had our draft board up there. I've got great grand visions.
You do. I mean, you're going to have this board that makes you look like Rick, or just this scrawl of insanity on a whiteboard.
I think the CTM draft board
That would be
being
cool.
up on
Yeah.
the whiteboard, so we could reference it. It's always in front. There it is.
It's just a screen of the wall. Yeah,
There's the wall.
Beautiful.
Now
Now it just looks like do not adjust your pictures. That's just
And again,
that's just our wall.
I can't find the article, but I always reference it. Brian Baldy. There was some article about him and how intense he covers the NFL, and they showed his basement, and the whole basement was like one big magnetic wall, and he had the depth charts down there.
Somebody's got a
inspiration.
basement like that. I forget who it was, but somebody's got a basement like that where they've basically just decorated the. Where they've basically
All right. We don't need to show too much of the rest of the prison here.
They've basically just decorated their basement with play sheets, like old play sheets from their
Sean
career.
Payton?
I don't know who it is. I forget, but they
Something Gruden
They've
would
literally just ripped out sheets of paper from their playbooks, and that's their wallpaper. It's kind of chaotic looking.
Oh, was it Matt Nagy?
I don't remember who it is. I genuinely don't. I can't remember at all whose room it was. But there was somebody's basement is just decorated like wall to wall with sheets torn out of playbooks.
It's Matt Nagy.
It's madness.
It's Matt Nagy.
It looks absolutely
All
chaos.
I did, this was risky. I Googled Matt Nagy basement. Turns out it's him.
Is it as crazy looking as I remember it being?
Yeah, look. It's
Oh no, that's even different than I was thinking. But that's pretty crazy.
It's
as well.
wallpaper of call sheets.
Well, he's got the actual call sheets. I'm pretty certain there's somebody out there whose basement is decorated with actual sheets of their playbook, like not the call sheet from the sideline, but just pages ripped out of a playbook and plastered up there as wallpaper.
That feels like a Gruden thing.
But yeah, Nagy's is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Although actually, when you see the zoomed out picture, it's a pretty nice basement.
No, it looks nice. I'm sure it's
The little corner where he's got all the call sheets looks a little crazy, but when you zoom out and you see the pool table and stuff, that's nice.
If you had the big man cave, how would you decorate it? By the way, Giants are dead, so we just finished that.
They died.
Now we're wrapping up autopsy time. How would you decorate the big man cave? You have a little one.
Yeah, that's the little zoomed in version.
That's Nagy's
right. There's a wide version where you see the pool table and a TV and much nicer area and stuff. I think I would decorate it much the same as my current. The problem is, so we have a basement that's a bit like Nagy's, right? And my wife decided she wanted the big area for her office space and stuff, and I got relegated to the little side room.
Yeah.
I think that was a mistake. I think that was an error in judgment. She's someone that likes the hot temperatures and heat rises, so the top of the house is warm, the bottom of the house is cold, so it's just a bad fit, right?
Yeah.
Whereas really, I should have the big space with as many TVs as I can cram in there.
Absolutely.
And a pool table and all the stuff that I want to hang on the wall.
You really lost out.
And I just don't have the space for that. So I think I got kind of shafted there.
I've got my top floor. I get the whole top floor, except I share it with the kids. It's a playroom and it's a workout room and it's a guest room, all in the same.
That's the flaw in that. Yeah, it's a shared space.
It's very shared. Right. Very shared. And I don't have enough wall space for everything.
No.
Anyway, good times. I always enjoy our Wednesday shows. So we're going to finish it off by bringing in Mina Kimes. Talking to Mina, we talked about this is all pre-recorded.
Yeah, you'll notice we change outfits.
I didn't, though.
You're doing the same thing?
Yeah.
You're just, okay, fair enough.
I wore this back-to-back days for my level of continuity.
It's
just that I love this hoodie so much. It's a multi-day.
Well, you just want it to be the film continuity. You didn't want to screw it up.
It's more like the consistency of this hoodie, of the Pony Express hoodie that I love so much. It's a multi-day hoodie.
Okay.
So I wore it again today.
Fair enough.
Despite pre-recording this yesterday. All right, we've got our preview show tomorrow, 9 a.m. Appreciate everybody being here. Let's get to Mina Kimes as we wrap up today's Wednesday Update show. All right, we are excited to be joined, returning to the show, Mina Kimes. Mina, welcome.
Hello. Glad to join.
First time in the new studio. What do you think?
It looks good. I'm a little bit disoriented by how gigantic I am relative to you guys. Well, I guess relative to Sam, but I do like it. I do like the new look is good.
Nice.
Yeah, we've toyed with different ways of bringing in the guest. The floating picture over the desk is what we've gone with right now. So I think it's fun. Anyway,
with you.
Let's get into it. Let's have fun. Talk some ball. We were all set up to talk Seahawks and Sam Darnold and everything and talk about his great season, and he just threw 4 picks.
Tough scene.
Yeah. There's no question attached to that, but respond.
Yeah, good start.
No. Dominique and I talked about this on my show a little bit because I think in our job, we want to go beyond, is he a choker on the biggest stage, right? We want to analyze, what is it about those games? And I think there's a pretty clear through line. Obviously, the Rams are the opponent in 2 of them. But I think what was jarring to me, and I'm sure you guys have thoughts on this as well, was going back and watching the interceptions. The ways that the Rams gave him trouble were very similar, I think, to how they gave him trouble in the playoff game. The Vikings offensive line at that point was probably worse, right, than Seattle. But you saw once again, he struggled when the Rams presented blitz, dropped guys out, simulated pressure to some degree, and then were able to create interior pressure, often with games. And every single one of his interceptions, there was some form of interior pressure. And I think on 3 of the 4, there was some sort of simulated pressure. And that's something that they've got to solve. I think there's ways that you can solve that with Darnold. We could talk about that. But I think if you're Seattle, maybe take some comfort in the fact that it's not like he lost in a wildly different way or struggled. I actually think there's a pretty obvious connection between those performances and this one.
Yeah. So I think that's one part of this that the Rams have a fairly unique ability to disrupt Darnold and cause problems. But overall, as someone into the Seahawks, how surprised are you at this Darnold season so far, and the flip side of that being Geno's season with the Raiders? Because when that move or that series of moves happened, I didn't know that it was particularly clear that they upgraded. I thought there was a significant risk that they might have downgraded from Geno based off the unknown quantity that was Darnold coming off that end of season implosion. And yet, up until facing the Rams, Darnold had been arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. Meanwhile, Geno Smith is completely imploded with the Raiders.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that have played into both the improvement, and Darnold has improved this year over last year, even before the playoff collapse or the last couple of games. And then I think Geno's gotten demonstrably worse. And I think what you've seen is both of their strengths and weaknesses amplified by their circumstances. The Raiders right now have a non-functional offensive line. Would you say they're the worst? I guess the Chargers are giving them a run for their money with all the injuries, but they're right there. And the Raiders obviously lost Colton Miller and Jackson Powers-Johnson and whatnot. And that's not to exonerate Geno at all, because you watch him, he's making bad decisions. He's missing throws he used to make, but you see this is a quarterback that already had a propensity to throw risky balls. And it's they took the 2025 Seahawks offense where they couldn't run the ball and he was in the gun all the time, and they made everything about it worse. And then he's become a worse player. And maybe some of it's age too, in terms of the throwing ability. But I think a lot of it is just bad decisions, can't run the ball, bad offensive line. He's compounding it with worse quarterback play. So that's the Geno side. And if anything, I think underestimated some signs of regression that are already there, but I really underestimated how shitty this Raiders offense was. And I like, for me as an analyst, the biggest self-scouting, yes, the Geno thing has invited some circumspection, but also like taking it back instead of improving that offensive line in retrospect looks like one of the worst decisions of the NFL offseason and the NFL draft. Flipping it to the Sam side of things, to me, the biggest improvement has been the offensive line. But again, that's something that in retrospect, they drafted a really good offensive line in the first round. You get a healthy season out of Abe Lucas. So undeniably, there's obvious reasons why it would be better. But I also think, and this is why they went out and got him, it's obviously a scheme that is suited to his skill set. And you're seeing that. You also have, of course, JSN taking a leap into becoming like maybe the best receiver in the NFL. So there's a lot going on there. And I think to answer your question, it really is about like, okay, trying to take a step back and look at these offensive ecosystems or like just the structure and saying, are these things trending in the right direction? Do they have players I feel good about? And I think the Raiders one was actually more predictable than Seattle, to be honest, because I thought the Seattle offensive line would continue to be an issue.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like you combine that too with Mike McDonald being in his second year and what he's doing defensively, and you get a Clint Kubiak in there. So when you mention ecosystem, it's the play caller, some familiarity with Darnold, playing to his strengths, but maybe a head coach who's moving in the right direction as far as the NFL as well.
I love that point too, because of the complementary football aspect of it. The other thing that was wholly predictable was Seattle having an awesome defense. I think most people thought they would be awesome because in the second half of last season, you saw it is a thing. The Mike McDonald leap is a real thing. We've seen it now on two teams, not just a leap from being like below average to good, becoming the best defense in football, arguably, right? But when you think about, okay, what do they want to do with Sam Darnold on offense? They want to, put big bodies in the field, play action, et cetera. Well, that works a hell of a lot better when you're not playing from behind. And if you have the best or top three defense in football, you're less likely to be playing it from behind, right? So you have to think about these things holistically. The nature of that offense works in large part because the defense is so good.
Robert Mays had a really good tweet during the week where he was like, the reason we all love this game is because it's this unsolvable puzzle, right? And every year, there's no way of fixing everything. You try one thing and it breaks something else. And it's just, we're all going nuts trying to look at how to improve and how to get incremental gains. What are some of the most interesting kind of schematic changes or wrinkles or things that are unique to this season that you've been noticing? One of the ones I think that's interesting is that Seattle Rams game where all of a sudden Sean McVay, it's not 11 personnel now, it's all this 13 personnel with 3 tight ends and these big heavy formations. And what have you been most interested by?
Well, that was a fascinating chess match inside the game too, right? Because on the first couple of drives, McVay, and this is something he's been leaning to the last few weeks, let's put 3 tight ends on the field. Let's get teams to put linebackers on the field, and then we'll absolutely destroy them through the air. Seattle does not put linebackers on the field. They live in dime, or really big nickel and nickel. So on the first couple of drives in that game, they were running on them. You remember that. And I'm thinking, oh boy, like in the battle of scheme, McVay's winning, but then like Seattle starts cracking down on the run, and Sean actually shifts back to 11 for the rest of the game because he felt like it wasn't working against the Seattle. I found that fascinating, like the back and forth, McDonald sticking with the sub packages, not putting linebackers on the field. And it's a big part of why Seattle is so good. And it's important, right? Because all the good offenses are doing this. Like the best offense in Seattle is one of them. The best offenses on the field right now are just shredding base defense, and they're getting teams to do it. And Seattle's ability to actually stop that out of its sub packages is really meaningful. So that is definitely one of them. The other one, I sent this to you. This is to a lesser degree, but just the jumbo we're seeing. And I love, I just pulled this. It's up. It's still not dramatic. It's like, 3% of snaps. And that is up from last year, according to NGS, 6 offensive linemen on the field. But I think what's cool is like every week you see like a different team try it, right? So it's like, oh, cool, the Jags are doing it this week. Oh boy, this is a big part of the Steelers offense. It feels like teams are, and then of course the Eagles are pivoting to it as a way to solve some of their issues in the run game.
And it would be up a huge amount more if it wasn't for the fact that Buffalo basically just replaced their sixth offensive lineman with Jackson Hawes, and they went from lineman to tight end with basically the same purpose.
I mean, that's an interesting dynamic, too, because a lot of times when we're doing our team building discussions, none of us are going into free agency being like, who's the top run blocking tight end that's going to get signed? And then you see the NFL, banging down the door for Josh Oliver and Charlie Werner and all that stuff. And if you don't have one of those guys, it's like, all right, maybe the sixth offensive lineman is probably going to block better than the best run blocking tight end, unless it's Jackson Hawes, of course.
I mean, if you count Darnell Washington appropriately, the Steelers are basically in actual jumbo the entire game, right? So
I mean, if they're like, the Steelers thing is fun, the fact that they have 9 300-pounders out there, but it's fun if they had another receiver, it would be more fun. Like it's kind of cool, like what Darnell Washington's doing and everything. They're just so limited. It's almost like by necessity they got to throw all the big boys.
I just love that they're like on the broadcast, they're showing it. Like when you watch a rugby game and they go in for the first scrum, they throw up a graphic that's like pack weight, right? And it's like, 900 kilos on the left, 857 on the right. They do that for the Steelers now with Darnell Wright. They like wait along the line of scrimmage with Darnell Washington. That's fantastic.
There was a game, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks ago, where on the first drive, Rodgers actually threw to an offensive lineman, and I think it was the sixth offensive lineman in their jumbo. And I thought briefly it was Washington, and I was like, he's getting bigger. Like, I actually, this is so dark. I actually have Darnell on my ultra deep dynasty league. And I'm not going to lie, he gave me 10 points a week, and it's desperate times this time of year, and it's a very deep league, and I'm actually really glad I still roster him.
Is that a 32-team league? How deep is this league?
Danny Kelly's in it. Nate Tice is in it. It's so deep. It's 14 teams, but it's 2 quarterbacks, and we all have like a zillion players.
It's like a 6 tight end league. Gonna have Darnell.
Let's just say Tyler Algier is consistently winning well, I guess he's actually a good fantasy, but yeah, it's pretty deep.
We touched on this a little bit on our show, but we'll let you kind of explain through it. You touched on it a touch as well. The idea that Greg Olson was talking about last week in matching down and distance more than personnel, right? The old way of doing it is base offense comes out, base defense comes out. 3 wide comes out, you match 3 wide with nickel, and now you have teams matching tendencies or down and distance, saying 2nd and 10, that's a passing down. We're putting in big nickel or dime. And we're going to do this on a down-to-down basis more than personnel, which has been, the NFL for like 100 years.
I do think it cuts to something which is, it sounds obvious, but I think first down has never been more important in the NFL because of this, right? And a lot of, I think about a team like the Colts is another good example. Like if you can just win on first down in Seattle, you saw this against the Rams in a big way. Once they were able to win on first down, it was like great from there, because you're not worrying about those schematic mismatches of potential. But to me, it's like almost every great offense right now, the Lions, the Eagles to some degree, they're not a great offense. I don't know why I said the Eagles, but Indianapolis certainly, and definitely the Rams and the Seahawks. You cannot beat them unless you can win on first down, in part because of what you're describing.
We like to pretend that we're smart on this show, but there are several teams that are proving that's just not the case, and they confuse the ever-living crap out of us. So we're wondering if you can help with some of these teams.
Yeah, help sort these out.
Can you explain at all let's start with the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, God.
How are they where they are? How is it that all their wins come when they win the coin toss and all their losses come when they lose the coin toss? What makes any sense about
You didn't know that stat. You didn't know that they've won the coin toss 6 times and they're 6-0 and lost 5 times and they're 0-5. You didn't know that, did you?
Really? Wow. Yeah. Is that some behind-the-scenes Eric Eager information?
No, it's out there. It's public.
It's just
public
out there.
Knowledge.
Just out there.
I've made it a rule on my pod that I'm like, I pick every game, but I was like, but the Panthers game, just don't even listen to me because I don't know what the hell every week. They're the team where I'm just the stay away team. And I just saw some people on my posting on my last week. They're like, apologize to Bryce. And I'm like, no, what? What are we doing? It's week to week. I didn't say it was over.
For apologies for just describing what happened.
When he just put up 25% of his season's passing yardage. Like, what?
He had a good game in week 11.
It's awesome. Like when social teams dunk on shows and whatever for picking against a team. And it's like, there's a reason why we all picked against you. Like, where was this last week? Okay, like, so Bryce is the most perplexing part of this to me. Like, week to week, I'm just like, I just don't know. I think that the consistency, though, and there's been some weeks where this hasn't been the case, but on this season, massive improvement in run defense is really driving a lot of this. Derek Brown cannot be overstated how big of an impact it was having him back in the lineup. But lest we forget, this was the worst run defense in football. I remember at one point I looked it up, and statistically, they were turning every team into the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. Like, they were like, teams are just. It was just hot knife through butter every game. And they've really, I don't have it in front of me, but really tightened up against the run. Yeah. And, you're seeing some young players too contribute on both sides of the ball for sure. McMillan's been awesome on offense. But to me, if I had to point to one thing about Carolina, and I'm like, why are they actually like either competitive or winning games? A lot of times it's that.
Same division, maybe more confusing. The Atlanta Falcons. How can they go out there, absolutely murder Buffalo, look like one of the best defenses in the NFL, and then random games where they get smoked by Carolina?
They haven't won since, right? That's their last win?
Yeah, but even then, like, coulda, shoulda won against Indianapolis. Like, their best games come against the best teams, and then terrible games against other teams.
Yeah, explain, Mina. Thank you.
This one I think I can explain, actually.
Excellent.
And actually it kind of flows from what I just said about Carolina. The Atlanta Falcons are, I think, the most scheme-dependent team in football. Or not, scheme is the wrong word, but they're matchup-dependent. That's what I meant to say. If they face the right kind of defense, Buffalo is a great example, where you can just run on them, right? And then the types of passes that they like to do, because they have such a specific style work, they can win any game. The problem is if you run, Carolina has a decent run defense, for example. I think, and you saw Bijan get bottled up in this one. I think for them, the wrong matchup can completely shift things. And then the pass defense is not great. The pass rush has improved, but there's still some major issues there.
So another team we're trying to figure out, the Green Bay Packers. Started the season looking like the best defense. Micah Parsons changes everything, and they've got those few losses. Late one against the Browns, the Panthers won. They've got some weird losses in there. What do we make of the Packers?
I think the defense still has holes, and like the cornerback concerns coming into the season, sometimes it pops up. Run defense in that game was really rough, but I would say the run defense is just okay. You're not seeing week one, it looked like, wow, Micah Parsons completely unlocked the defensive line. Since then, nobody outside of Parsons really has been a consistent producer. So I think it's just not as talented perhaps as it seemed. And then offensively, it's just, to me, the offensive line has just really held this offense back. And you see that on the ground, and you see that in the passing game. And I think Matt LaFleur has been overly conservative at times, trying to compensate for it. And so everything gets kind of held back. And pass catchers too, right? God, They had 1 million drops this week. Whew.
You coined the term for Jordan Love. Are you sticking by the Toyotathon quarterback? And when does Toyotathon start for you? And will this continue, this trend in Jordan Love's career this year?
I think it started. Hold on. I'm looking it up. I think
it's like when we get into Thanksgiving time, right? Like,
it's usually mid-November. Yeah.
He's coming off of his best PFF grade of the season. I know that.
He was awesome for this game.
Maybe that was it.
He kicked off Toyotathon with like a 90-plus grade. So
Toyotathon start date.
When
I don't know if they're
Toyotathon?
official. Yeah, now I'm looking it up.
While we're here, have you ever gifted or been gifted a car with a bow on it?
Good question.
Sam likes that. Okay. Sam's favorite part of the holidays.
Apparently,
your dad did this, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
You
make fun of people, and your dad.
Well,
did
they were like swapping out the car, right? And my mother was mortified that she came out and it had the big red bow on the top, which apparently my dad specifically requested
Dr.
for that
Monson.
car.
Good work, doctor.
Yeah.
Good work.
So he's the only person that's ever done it that I've tracked down.
You make fun of people that do this every year.
I do, yeah, including him.
Toyotathon, according to Tuscaloosa Toyota, just a local Toyota dealership, kicks off in mid-November.
I see one that says it's going to run from November 19th. That's tomorrow or today, depending on when you're listening to this show.
I would say we say it's retroactive to last week.
Okay.
Last Sunday, Jordan Love, game-winning drive. It counted.
I'm not going to say I got him that deal, but I did amplify it. And then after that, he immediately signed with Toyota as a sponsor. So I'm not trying to take credit. I'm not trying to get a cut.
Finder's best for the holidays.
Finder's fee.
I think he's good. I don't think he's ever going to be like a machine type quarterback. That's just the nature of his game. But I think he's capable of making like the high end throws as anyone in the NFL. I think the decision stuff has been overrated. And so, yeah, I'm a Jordan Love. I wish they had a run game. I do, though.
One more team we had on the confusing list, but I'm wondering after Monday night, are they just going to be good now? The Dallas Cowboys with all those additions on defense, with young players coming through, with Overshown coming back. Is this just like, is the defense going to go from being the worst defense in the NFL to now being average enough that a really good offense can make the team good?
Well, we're about to find out because they got the Philly rematch, but I don't think you can learn much from going against that Raiders offensive line. And that's not to say that they're not improved, because players matter, right, and they've added a bunch of good players like in a hurry. So I think it's highly possible we could see improvement, but I just don't know after Monday. I just feel like mystery.
Yeah.
Still a mystery box.
Yeah. It's like the Patriots schedule. Doesn't mean you're not good. It's just that we don't know yet.
Just don't know. Well, Dallas,
Patriots,
we've got 3 challenging
who they have?
games here.
Well, all season long, but they have like 2 hard games left. They have Buffalo, the second game, and Baltimore are the 2 games that you're like, well, you might learn something in those games. Everybody else, they should beat.
That's going to be like a big Drake May MVP inflection point. Like, if he can do it again.
They're coming to Cincinnati this weekend. Coming to hang out.
Are you're an AP voter, right? You're one of the 50.
Yeah.
This year, I'm gonna need you to not let me be I'm going to need you to save me from this year's Brock Bowers, whoever it ends up being. I don't want to be the one solo getting like all of Washington crapping on him because he was the one guy that voted for Brock Bowers.
I got a lot of heat for picking Lad McConkey over Bo Nix last year.
Oh,
I didn't know they were going to be public.
That's the thing. They just dropped it out there like, by the way.
A lot of thought into them, but like that was when I was like, oh damn, all right, I guess this is out there.
While we're here, since the Broncos fans are littering the show lately, we need a definitive hot or cold take on Bo Nix now. We need that. There's no middle ground on Bo Nix.
Is he good or bad?
Is he the best quarterback the Broncos have ever had, or is he Tim Tebow? He can't be either.
Unfortunately, I'm going to give you the weenie answer, which is I think he is good enough to win games with this elite defense and this good offensive line and this great coach staff. Before Broncos fans get mad at me and say I'm damning with faint praise, there are a lot of quarterbacks I don't feel that way about around the NFL, right? Like you swap places with him and J.J. McCarthy at the moment, and the Vikings are winning a lot of these games. So I know that's a pretty low bar, but my point is like he's playing good enough, and it's just there's an inconsistency factor that can't be denied.
Made some huge plays against the Chiefs. Both things can be true, right? Was awful against the Raiders, came back, was excellent against the Chiefs week to week with Bo.
I love that you tried to pander to get back in the good graces of the guys that,
I just want to show Broncos it's not just me that has lukewarm takes on Bo Nix. That is just describing what you see. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's not. That's just the truth.
I just feel like reaching out to the people that, hammer you for that take in the first place, they're probably not reachable. You know what I mean? Like
they're probably not.
The ones that are like, oh, that man said something slightly negative about my favorite player. What an idiot. You're not getting that guy back.
I know. I hate talking to the people that aren't actually listening too.
Every year there's a quarterback that makes people insane, and I think it's Bo Nix this year.
That was actually how I was going to wrap this whole thing, because there were people out there being like, I found a lot of weird people out there. I've never seen anyone take as much criticism as J.J. McCarthy. Like, that's what I saw from Vikings fans. It's like, have you ever been anywhere? So which quarterback takes the most? Who's the most polarizing quarterback out there right now? Who takes the most criticism right now?
Polarizing is different from who takes the most criticism.
Okay, those are two different questions.
Is most polar. JJ is taking a lot of criticism, and it's frankly, if you're on the other side of that, you're insane. Yeah,
right.
Like you're not. You cannot be taken seriously as a person. Polarizing, it has to be like a good debate, and I think Bo Nix right now is the guy. Like Tua was this guy forever, where you got people on both sides. You got reasonable debate. For some reason, it's extremely amplified and heated, and people are being crazy about it. But I think Bo is the guy this year, right? Because Tua had that mantle. The Tua, Jimmy Garoppolo was this guy for a long time. I fought in the Jimmy Garoppolo wars of the late teens and 20s or whenever that was.
Tua had his own Anon, right?
Yeah,
is there a Bo Anon? Tua had his own
Tuanon, yeah.
Tuanon group.
It's legit. Yeah. I mean, between since Tua, has there been anyone else, or it feels like Bo's that dude now?
Herbert always has quite a. I mean, it's not as broad. It's a narrower spectrum, but there's like it's either he's there with Josh Allen, et cetera, or he's mid.
Yeah.
Nothing in
Joe
between.
Burrow's got some interesting analytics. People hate him because of sack totals only, and Joe Flacco had good games, and it's like, see, Burrow's mid or whatever.
Right.
There's some interesting
nobody's quite
there.
willing to jump on that hill, but there's definitely people that are like prodding we could start a Joe Burrow conversation.
Maybe Joe Burrow. That's why he wants to come back to prove that.
He's got to prove he's the best Joe in town.
Got to stave off Flacco.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. That's. But I think Tua has handed the baton to Bo. That's my feeling.
Well, Mina, we appreciate you joining us. Tell everybody where they can find all your stuff.
Yeah, Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny. We come out twice a week on Tuesdays. That show should be out now. We talk about Monday and recap the winners and losers. On Thursdays, we preview the games. The great Sam Monson came on a couple weeks ago. Banger episode. We really struggled to pick games that week, I feel like. But for the most part, it is less of a struggle in terms of picking. And it's on youtube.com/@Mina Kimes or wherever you get pods.
And I believe you're on a small up-and-coming network regularly on the television.
Oh, yeah.
Is that correct?
I'm also, which I got to go get ready for, NFL Live.
Which I can watch now on YouTube TV.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Back on the TV.
Glad we're all back. Thank you, Mina.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Mina.
Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.